Today on Comicstorian, Doctor Strange is going to fight against Dracula. This is Comicstorian. I take some of the obscure old comic books and I break them down into an audio drama, allowing you to know things that happened in the past and look for things to add to your collection. We cut out a lot of the extra stuff and the fluff, so there's still some more artwork and things for you to acquire for your collection if you choose to. All alterations to the panel, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Doctor Strange the movie just came out, and while we're covering the death of Doctor Strange, which is a crossover event that happened recently, I also thought it'd be fun to go look for one of Doctor Strange's weirdest and oldest storylines, one where maybe he fought against Dracula. Let's begin. Doctor Strange stands in his sanctum sanctorum looking into his crystal ball, searching for the likes of Wong, for his faithful friend has gone missing. Vanishing into the darkness of the night, Strange continues to search, his magic finally finding the fallen body of Wong. Wong appears dead, but how? Who? He gasps, knowing that he must investigate further. Using his magic, he calls on the power of the Eye of Agamotto, pulling Wong's body through time, trapping it. The body now floats before him, trapped within this time sphere, and Strange begins to examine it, gasping as he discovers fang marks on Wong's neck. He whirls back to his crystal ball, seeing the shadowy outline of a vampire, Wong's attacker. You're Wong's murderer. You shall dearly pay for your deed. So sweareth the Doctor Strange, he shouts to the sanctum. But he turns back to the body, knowing that he will need more information on the monster before he can even attack. Using the Eye of Agamotto once more, he makes sure that Wong is suspended in time, so that the vampire's curse will not work throughout his body until Strange has figured things out. He begins to meditate, hovering in the air as his astral form leaves his body, slipping into the memories of Wong. He travels through the dark night, suddenly realizing that he is seeing the darkness through Wong's eyes. Wong is walking down the street when he hears a woman scream, and he rushes down the alleyway, finding the woman in the clutches of a monster, of the vampire. What? Someone dares interrupt my feast. Very well, fool. Dracula needs more than one sacrifice tonight, the monster says, leaping at Wong, burying his fangs into his neck. Doctor Strange snaps back to his body, unable to bear the sight of Wong's death, shocked by the fact that it was Dracula who killed his friend. He turns back to the floating body of Wong. Rest well, faithful Wong. If all goes well, you shall soon be among the living once more. But should I fail, this I do promise. Your final rest will be avenged, Strange tells him. Strange moves into the night, searching out the memories and shades of Dracula's passing, discovering the vampire's trail and following it to an old brownstone mansion on the edge of the city. As he lands on the property, Dracula awakens in his coffin far below. A human. I sense the presence of a human in this manner. Van Helsing? Drake? That damnable blade? No. The smell is different, almost ominous. Dracula growls from his crypt. Pulling himself free, he's surprised to find his crypt walls are glowing with an ominous light. Strange springs at him. By the omnipotent Ashtar, you killed my friend vampire, now face Doctor Strange. The sorcerer shouts, casting a powerful light that blinds the vampire. But the light doesn't blind Dracula for long, his undead eyes quickly adjusting. He has heard of this Doctor Strange and warns the sorcerer that it was foolish of him to attack the vampire lord in his home. Now Dracula is ready. Ready to destroy! The vampire shouts as he leaps into the fray. Knowing that his opponent is clever and fast, Strange uses the Eye of Agamotto to cast the Rings of Ragador, combining it with the Crimson Bands of Sidorak and trying to bind the Dracula. The vampire laughs. What madness is this? You seek to constrict my movement. Ha! Your mystic bonds are as effective as water in holding one who can become the very mist itself. Dracula taunts as he turns into vapor, slipping through the magical spell. Strange turns, using his magic to destroy Dracula's coffin, giving him no refuge. But I do not wish for your destruction. There, to use you, I must first eliminate your arrogance, Strange says, casting another spell on Dracula. In a moment, the vampire lord is once again in the past, when he was once known as Vlad the Impaler. Riding his horse into the battle against the Turks, he finds that he is defeated, cast to the ground, wounded beyond the abilities of the healers. But that is when he was bitten by the vampire, cursed to become the undead. Dracula awakens on his crypt floor, screaming in rage and surprise. Strange standing nearby. Yes, Dracula, I am the one responsible. You must be broken, forced to listen to my orders to aid me in the resurrection of my servant, Strange tells him. But Dracula refuses to help, fighting back against Strange, making the sorcerer wonder if he will be forced to kill the vampire. Dracula rushes at Strange with the sorcerer trying to cast another spell to stop him, but the magic doesn't work on the vampire. Now, you must be made to suffer, Dracula hisses, his eyes seemingly peering into Strange's very soul. The sorcerer's mind goes blank, his body going numb. Let my will become yours, Dracula shouts as he grabs at Strange. Now I shall feast upon the Sorcerer Supreme. You have fought well, Strange, yet I could not die. Therefore, I could not lose. Farewell until we meet again, 3 days hence. And with that, Dracula sinks his teeth into Dr. Strange's neck. Licking the blood off of his lips, he allows Strange to fall to the floor, and he reaches down, pulling up a trap door that leads into a deeper pit within the mansion, tossing Strange's lifeless body within, planning to return in 3 days hence. 3 days, Mystic. 3 days of peace. Enjoy them if you can, for when they've ended, you will rise again, and you'll enjoy it again. He says with a laugh, turning into mist and disappearing into the darkness. But little did Dracula know that Strange's astral form had left his body, watching as the vampire lord had drank upon his blood. Now Strange hovers over his corpse, unable to return, shocked that the vessel doesn't recognize his soul any longer. What hidden powers holds my soul separate from its vehicle? He wonders to himself, kneeling over the body. It seems that the power of Dracula is different from the other enchantments that I've encountered. His supernatural control over his victims after death has made this body foreign to my touch, unwilling to receive any stimulus except his. He ponders, but Strange casts these thoughts aside, declaring that he is the master of the black arts, that nothing is out of range of his possibility, that he must think of a way to defeat Dracula. And so Strange begins to ponder his problem. Later, Dracula walks through the streets of the city, finding himself within the park, where he discovers an old church. Not abandoned, desecrated, I can feel it, he hisses in his mind. The influence of the accursed Christians has been wiped clean, leaving it open, waiting for me. But a hand taps on his shoulder and Dracula turns to discover an old homeless woman. She asks if he's with the city, pointing out that there is no harm in her squatting in the church. Dracula glares at her. I can provide you with a new place of rest, madame. But for now, I need this one. He snarls as he moves to bite her. The woman's body falls to the ground, but Dracula is then interrupted by a voice behind him. He turns, his eyes widening in shock as he sees his former villain, Dr. Sun. No, vampire, I am the ghost of Dr. Sun. You destroyed me, remember? The brain of Dr. Sun shouts, and Dr. Strange tries to grab him, but the brain turns to vapor in his grasp. You cannot escape me, Dracula! You must pay for your many sins, and you shall. Dr. Sun shouts before disappearing in a flash of light. Dracula is shocked by these events, returning to his mansion to ensure that Strange did not survive his bite and is toying with him. He checks the crypt to find that Strange's body is right where he left it. The vampire's mind races as he tries to decide what to do next. Do your worst, spirit, or whatever you may be, for I am Dracula, the vampire lord shouts into the darkness of the mansion, not afraid of the spirit of his former enemy. With these words, Dracula returns to his coffin, hiding away once more until the following night. The next day, he takes the form of a bat, moving through the city skies, returning to where he left the body of Wong 3 days ago. But his eyes narrow as he finds the alleyway empty. He's not where I left him. Where is he? He hisses into the night, turning as another light appears, and his eyes widen in the shock of his former lover Maria appearing before him, her hand reaching out. Vlad, my love, how can you have fallen so low? How, Vlad? She demands, moving forward, putting her arms around him and demanding that he kiss her. No. Get away from me, foul demon! I'll have none of your lies! Dracula shouts, swiping away the specter. People beginning to gather at the entryway of the alleyway, shocked to see the well-dressed man shouting and attacking at nothing. Demon, you say, Vlad? Maria says with a smile. Her teeth are sharpening as she takes the form of a monster. Yes, vampire! The demon who will drive you to die from your sins! She shouts, fire leaping out of her fingertips. But before Dracula can retaliate, Maria becomes mist once more, fleeing into the night. Dracula turns into a bat, chasing after the specter of his once lost love, and she leads him out over the waters of the bay. Her Dracula grows tired, but does not stop. The specter transforms once again, taking the form of Doctor Strange. Yes, Dracula, it is I who have haunted you in these nights, but now I must hide my identity no longer. Look at the east. Strange shouts at him, and Dracula turns, shocked to find that he lost track of the time, and the sun is rising once more. In his bat form, he whirls around quickly, putting the last of his energy into running from the sunlight, making it to an abandoned cabin on the coast as the sun finally crests the horizon. As the third night arrives, Dracula returns to the body of Doctor Strange, having survived the sorcerer's trap. He holds a wooden stake in his hand, holding it over the body. I have survived, sorcerer. Now as you arise, I swear, you shall not. But as the body of Doctor Strange begins to rise, it is not a mindless vampire, and the astral form of Strange returns to it, allowing the body to float into the air. With his new vampire strength, Strange lashes out at Dracula, tackling him to the ground, but Dracula knocks him away. I am eternal, fool! He shouts, realizing that he can no longer control the corpse, though it doesn't have the powers of Doctor Strange either. Dracula then picks up his stake, trying to stab Strange through the heart, but the sorcerer chops through the simple piece of wood. You murdered me! You cursed me! Doctor Strange will have your throat! Doctor Strange shouts in anger, but Dracula will not go down without a fight, throwing strange things around the room. The newly undead Doctor Strange's strength is no match for the Lord of Vampires. Doctor Strange throws him to the ground, declaring himself Strange's lord, but a thought springs into Strange's mind. He has called on the powers of various entities throughout his time as the Sorcerer Supreme, so he reaches out now, calling on the power of God. He reaches out, wrapping his hands around Dracula's throat, his touch now burning the skin of the vampire, even though he can feel his own body reacting in pain to the power of God. But Strange manages to hold on, and Dracula bursts into flames, his charred body falling to the floor. With this new power, Strange uses the Eye of Agamotto to call the body of Wong to him. He reaches out his hand, ordering the curse to leave his friend's body, and then turns the touch on himself, ordering the vampirism to leave him as well. A bright light flashes throughout the room, and Strange cries in pain, falling to the floor. At dawn, it is Wong who helps Strange to his feet. The faithful friend is unaware of what has happened. A once-in-a-lifetime battle, Wong. A terrible thing, Strange says as he checks the body of Dracula, still where he left it. The two friends turn to leave, leaving the vampire where he has fallen. Dead. Or is he? Told you I was gonna find you guys a weird Doctor Strange full story to bring you. This is a one and done, so it's just a full story. I know it's a little bit shorter, but it was just 3 issues of classic Doctor Strange. If you enjoyed this, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and don't forget to follow us over at Patreon, patreon.com/Comicstorian. You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all across the board. We have Comicstorian. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time right here.